All right, everything is ready on my end. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, everybody, you're live. Or not live, because this is not live, but hey, guys.
Hello.
Hey, so we actually have like a little announcement to make before we start this episode. For personal reasons, Nick will be leaving the show, and in his place, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, my name is Coleman Brining. I am a musician. I'm an avid listener to music. Listener of music, I should say. I'm very grateful that I get to be on this podcast with Jerry and Cameron, and I hope this goes really well because I'm stoked.
Yep. All right. Anyways, with that out of the way, this week.
Pink Floyd's What?
I'm sorry. I just got a notification on my computer, and I think the recording might have picked it up.
Oh.
I'll just leave it in.
Today we're going over Pink Floyd's definitely their most famous album.
Yeah, this is possibly the most famous album of all time, honestly.
It's, of course, everybody knows it. The Dark Side of the Moon, 1973. It's just a great album. What are you gonna say?
Yeah, this is the first album I ever listened to in one sitting, and I mean, yeah, what else is there to say about it? It's just really, although I do have one kind of rant that I do want to make before we start talking about Dark Side of the Moon, and it's about Pink Floyd being like often classified as a prog rock band. I think they are more a mix of art rock, psychedelic rock, and a little bit of prog rock. Most of their albums, they do have some like proggy albums, like Parts of Metal and Animals as a Whole, and I guess I'd say Wish You Were Here is pretty prog rock oriented too. But the majority of their stuff, their earlier work is psychedelic rock, and then Dark Side of the Moon and Obscured by Clouds are art rock, and The Wall and After are just basically pop rock. So yeah,
yeah. Although, no matter what, it's still a great album. So
I know. Yeah.
Let's go right on to the first track.
Let's just start with the intro track, Speak to Me.
There's really not too much to say about Speak to Me.
I really like Speak to Me as an intro track because I like how it uses a lot of sound effects from later in the album, like the cash sounds from Money and the clock noises from Time, and the wah from Great Gig in the Sky.
That was just some beautiful singing right there.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's just such a dramatic opening to this album. It's just art because it's airy, but it is in no way hollow. This song, Speak to Me, it begins with like noises that sound like heartbeats, what I could only assume to be heartbeats, kind of. And it gets dramatic and it builds up. There's not a lot going on in Speak to Me, except for those heartbeat noises until like the cash register noises come in, which, as I think Cameron said it, are from Money. And then you hear the vocalist from The Great Gig in the Sky starting to sing. I think it's the vocalist from The Great Gig in the Sky. And in those last few seconds, it just builds right into the next song, Breathe in the Air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, to note that, just gonna note, all the transitions on this album are some of the most like fluid song transitions ever.
Yeah, it's.
Oh my goodness!
Every transition is seamless. It's like, it almost feels like the whole thing's one song. Almost, not really.
Yeah, it's not. It's not like the most fluid album I've ever heard. That would probably be Nonagon Infinity by King Gizzard. But where
it's also
in Nonagon Infinity, not only does every single track transition perfectly into one another as if they're just playing, but the closing track literally transitions perfectly into the opening track.
So
it's basically just an infinite loop of music.
It's not even the most fluid Pink Floyd album. I think that's Wish You Were Here, but it's still the transitions are great. So now we'll go on to transition
Breathe in the Air.
Breathe in the Air. So I really like this song. I think it's a great opening song. You can't call the first you can't call Speak to Me a song, but it's a great opening song. It sets up a lot of themes that continue throughout the rest of the album. A lot of good lyric writing. It's just a fun song to listen to. It's pretty airy, but again,
the lyrics on the first half of this album are a little straightforward, but they're still really good.
Exactly.
The lyrics on this album are phenomenal, and "Breathe in the Air" is no exception, really.
Yeah.
The theme, one of the main themes of this album in terms of lyrics, has to be, get on your feet and start doing things, because if you don't start running now, 10 years will fly, and all of a sudden you're going to be old and closer to death. I'm kind of quoting some lyrics that occur throughout these songs.
I think,
one of them has 10 years and stuff.
The Dark Side of the Moon it's just the whole album is
also
it summarizes your life, sort of, right? Where breathe in the air is being born and breathing for the first time. I don't know. And
also,
then
there's a sound that's used a lot on this. Sorry, continue.
No, you can go.
There's a sound used a lot on this song, but on the majority of the album. I can't tell if it's just a way of... I don't play the guitar, I do want to learn how to, but I can't tell if it's just a way of playing the guitar or if it's a pedal steel, but it's do you guys know what sound I'm talking about?
Not quite.
The na.
Yeah.
It's also in Great Gig in the Sky. Yeah. I really like that song.
I know exactly what you're talking about. That you hear something like that throughout the entire album. I think that personally, that's one of the biggest themes. The ba da da. You hear it's such a minor aspect, but it comes back so much across the whole album. It really connects it all together. I think the best line of lyrics possibly in the whole album is right at the end of this track. All you touch and all you see is all your life will ever be, and then transitions straight into On the Run.
On the Run, yeah.
That's a great lyric, and it really sets up for the lyrical themes of the whole album, especially.
Yeah, it's a really good track overall.
Yeah.
I mean, this might be my favorite track on this album. I like to think of this album actually as being split into two parts, 2 acts. I feel like the first act...
Yeah, I agree. The first act is kind of about...
After the Great Gig in the Sky. It stops right after that, and then it starts with Money, the second act.
Yeah, the first act is more about, I think the first act is kind of about wasting your life, and the second act is about, all the things that kind of make someone go insane, I guess.
Yeah, especially money. Especially money.
But money is such a groove. I'll talk about that more.
We're gonna talk about
next,
money. But next we have On the Run.
It's another track where that's not too much to say about it.
Yeah, it's a very... So this song is interesting because it's
very repetitive.
It must have been super interesting to hear this in the 70s, but now we have an entire genre of music, techno music, and I do like the synthesizer sound, but I do find this song, it has a nice atmosphere, but it's just extremely repetitive.
Yeah, I think it was a bit too long.
The song is kind of about,
the length of Speak to Me, instead of being, nearly 4 minutes long.
There's not much lyrics here, although the lyrics that are there kind of paint the picture that it's a song, and especially with the atmosphere and the title of the song, it paints the picture that it's about constantly being rushed and always, and I get that, and it's a song I listen to when I'm listening to the whole album, but I don't really listen to it otherwise. But
the only time I'd listen to On the Run is when I'm listening to when I'm trying to listen to Breathe in the Air, and so when I listen to either Breathe in the Air or Time, what I'd want to do is I would actually play the first 4 songs, because it's kind of weird playing for example On the Run or Time by itself, because I think time starts kind of awkwardly, if I'm right, or was it Time? I think it might have been Breathe in the Air, but the point is, I'd want to listen to all 4 of those, the first 4 songs, like, consecutively, because
they're definitely one of the most connected groups of songs in the album.
Oh, I actually think the second side is more connected. I feel like the second, Money, Us and Them, Any Color You Like, and and Brain Damage Eclipse
the last
are
two
basically all like one song pretty much.
Yeah. So there's not much to say about On the Run. It's a very interesting concept. I just think it was a tiny bit too long. Yeah.
And now we move on to.
What it does right though, it sounds like running.
Yeah. We move on to my biggest hot take. This is my least favorite song on the album, Time.
Really? I really enjoy Time.
My opinion on Time is I really like the build up with like the clock noises and then like it's probably the most prog moment on the whole album. It's got like these like very like kind of ominous synths and it has but it's very similar to Breathe, and I kind of feel like it's just more of a sampler of like all the sounds in the album than like, and it has the lyrics on Time are like very, very similar to the lyrics on Breathe, and so it just kind of doesn't.
Yeah. Although it's much more of a jam than Breathe is, where, you know, although it's not like the #1 jam on the album, I feel like you could play Time sort of independent, and you could, you know, not really like, just like listen it, but it's, you know, it's just like a fun song to listen to, you know. It's
like it's all right, but if I wanted like the atmosphere, I would go for Breathe, and if I wanted the jam, I would go for Money. So there's not really any reason for me to listen to Time.
I would definitely have to agree with that. Time is like the most rock-like song on this album, and the lyrics are very prolific and very depressing. I should probably say they're kind of depressing, to be honest.
It's a very upbeat song, but the actual lyrics are really depressing.
It makes you reflect on your life, and it makes you, you know, think about like, wow, what would have happened if I missed the starting gun, or did I miss the starting gun, or, you know, like, am I living the life that I should be living? What I love about this song is that toward the end, it goes back to Breathe in the Air.
Yeah, that's the part I really like about my song.
My favorite lyric of this song, right now, I don't know why, but it made me feel so good. Home, home again, like, which is the first lyric of the part where it goes back to Breathe in the Air, which is kind of like going back home. That was like really what to the like so much.
It feels like, you know, Breathe in the Air, I guess, you know, right in the beginning, it establishes the home theme of the album, and it's bringing you back to the home theme, you know?
Yeah.
I think this is a good song, but it's a good song. It's nothing exceptional, though. The album can bring everything that Time has. There's another track on the album that does it
basically better. Yeah, it's not a bad song. It's just like it's not as good. It's just not. It's not. It's like it's still good, but it doesn't reach the heights of it. It's like it's kind of a jack of all trades, basically. Yeah, it does master of
jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, I think the idea is the album as a whole is better than any of its individual songs.
Definitely. I would disagree. I think a lot of this. Generally, The Great Gig in the Sky and After, all of those songs I would totally listen to, like, out of the context of the album. But yeah. It's still a great album to listen to in one sitting. And now we have...
The next track is The Great Gig in the Sky. Whenever I listen to this song, I get chills.
Yeah, I actually have a story to tell about this song.
So good. The singing is so good, you know. I'm not very good singing, but
don't try it. As Obi-Wan would say, don't try it.
It's just so good. It's so good.
Don't try it.
It's like, you know, in the beginning it starts with very melancholy, you know, the soft pianos, and it sort of fades in, and, you know, you're really not sure what's going to happen, and then all of a sudden you have this very loud, amazing female singer coming straight at you, just, you know, blowing you away with how good the vocals are. And even though there's like not really that many lyrics, you know, it's just a great song, and it kind of sets a mood, you know, for the rest of the album that you don't really get. You don't get from the lyrics, you just get from the feel of the song.
And also there's some lyrics, and they, for how little lyrics the song has, they use them really well. The first part of the song, like right before the just amazingness. There's like this guy saying, I'm basically saying, just very matter-of-factly, it doesn't matter when I die, I don't really care. And after the amazing part, you hear a very timid sound. If you can't hear this, I didn't catch this in my first listen. You have to listen like hard to hear it, but like you can very faintly hear a different person's voice. It's a lot more timid sounding, and they're saying, I never said I was afraid of dying. And so you get the idea that it's like...
I think the whole theme of the album is like, going crazy and dying, basically, right? That's what it is.
And,
I
have only one complaint about this album. I have only one complaint about this song, and it's that, like, I kind of feel like after the awesome part, like, basically, there's, like, a lot of... I feel like the outro, kind of, where it's just kind of slowing down, could have been, like, maybe 2/3 of as long as it is, and it would have made the song better, but...
Yeah, you're right. But, like, and I love, again, the theme of the glissandos, the ba-da-da, right before the singing comes in.
Yeah, and then there's that sound that I was talking about earlier. It's like
the soft piano, and the ba da da, and the drums pick up the, and then of course the singing's coming. There's not too much to talk about other than how talented the singer. I'm gonna keep on going on it.
I remember when I was when I first like funny story. The first Pink Floyd song I ever heard when I was like, I don't know, I might have been like 5. My dad showed me Several Furry Creatures. You guys are familiar with that one?
No.
So Several Furry Creatures was on Amagama, which is like one of their weirdest albums, and Several Furry it's basically a sound collage of like very rhythmic animal noises, and like it's actually kind of a groove, honestly, but like the first time that my dad like consistently played a Pink Floyd song for me was this song, and later, like shortly after watching End of Evangelion, which is my favorite movie of all time, for the first time, I like remember, wow, this song, this reminds me a lot of this song, and
it definitely has that type of ominous feeling, but where the front, what you pay attention to is really like glorious, but the theme is actually ominous. So next, of course, we go on to, I'd say this is the most famous song on the album.
This is definitely the most famous song on the album.
Money.
It's really
my second favorite.
It's such a good song. Okay,
it's such a good bass line.
In previous episodes, I've talked about how much I love bass. And this song is no different. The bass line in the beginning is just so iconic. Seriously, if you don't forget, you hear the sound of like the cash registers, ding in the beginning. Setting up a nice rhythm. If you heard those noises, one time I was walking by somebody listening to the Pink Floyd, and I heard the sound of the cash register. I was like, that's money. I didn't even need to hear any of the actual music part. I just heard the cash register. I was like, that's money. That's how iconic this song is. And it's just such a jam. The lyrics are really good, obviously, but it's just a song that I would listen to.
This is the anarcho-capitalist national anthem.
Yeah.
So I think of all the songs on this album, Money is definitely the most, and I'm sorry I have to use this word, edgy of all the songs on this album.
Yeah.
It's just completely talking about money and how just money is just very, scandalous, and money is
it's
money
about like
anything.
how much power you can get with money.
It starts off talking about how money can get you the basic things, and then it keeps on going, how like the corruption and all that.
Yeah, basically.
With all this.
Yeah. And then there's like a second bass line, which is also really good, and then there's a sax solo and a guitar solo, and
I love sax solos.
Oh my god, it was.
Oh my god, the saxophone solo is so beautiful and so jazzy and just spices up this whole song. One of the best parts of the song, in my opinion.
This track is the first first glimpse of jazz we get on this album, and
the next two tracks
it's a very good
more.
flip change, and flip change, what am I talking? It's really good like change up of what we've been seeing in the beginning part of the album.
Yeah.
Some of the lyrics like money, it's a crime, share it fairly, but don't take a slice of my pie. The lyrical themes, I'm forgetting how to speak English, to be honest. You guys, it's just a really good song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I could literally, sometimes when I'm listening to the song, I just find myself, dancing, just because it's just so fun to listen to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a jam. Yeah.
Next up, we have
Us and Them, which is probably the most psychedelic song on this album.
Us,
yeah.
Us, and them. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah,
the reverb though.
There's a lot of reverb on this one. It's a lot slower than the rest of the tracks. There's another really good sax solo at the beginning. The
theme of this song, of the lyrics, is fighting in a war and dying.
Yeah.
Where after
the chorus is great.
And
isn't that kind of like foreshadowing the wall a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of like
the lyric, as after all we're only ordinary men. It's a theme that you see in lots of anti-war movies or anti-war things, where they're talking about how the soldiers, they're all just regular people being forced to fight, I guess. And then the lyrics, God only knows it's not what we would choose to do.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to choose to be there, they're being forced to be there. And the general sat, and the lines on the map move from side to side, and they're talking about how the generals, the people in power, are sitting in the back,
basically
not doing anything, while the ordinary men are being forced to fight and die.
And there's a great piano solo, and it's another amazing song.
And the last lyric of the song, "The old man died," again, keeps with the theme of power. That comes on for money. The people with the money have the power, and they're causing, the fighting that they're talking about in Us and Them.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to see it.
I mean, I don't have much to say about this song. I do agree that this is the most psychedelic song on this album. Although, what this song did make me realize was that this is kind of not so important, but the percussion in this album is actually the volume of the percussion is very low. I mean, this song is great, but the drums were kind of faint. And that's the case for a lot of the other songs, but it's noticed here because the chorus of the song is actually louder than the chorus of a lot of other songs on this album, probably every other song on this album.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
anyways,
next up is
Any Color You Like.
An instrumental song. Any Color You Like.
It's more of just like it's basically just a long, kind of almost, I want to call it like a jazz track, but not really. It's more of just a really long synth solo, pretty much.
Yeah, but
doesn't the synth solo stop around halfway through?
Yeah, and then it's more guitars, but yeah, basically.
This song does sound like Any Color I'd Like. This song is very colorful, probably the most colorful song on this album, without being psychedelic.
Exactly. And there's a lot of different, Any Color You Like, a lot of different, sounds that are mashed up in this song.
Yeah. Also, also Us and Them transitions perfectly,
oh yeah.
Yeah, into all the last 4 songs on the album, all just were played at the same time, pretty much. That I could have worded that better, but
yeah, they feel like one song, I guess.
I mean, this whole album sounds like a Broadway musical, to be honest. This whole album is it's so well crafted. There's an end of kind of like a first act, in my opinion, which is like the Great Gig in the Sky. That's like the giant big finale of the first act, kind of like in Wicked, when the Wicked Witch is like "Fly me to the western sky," you know that. I don't really want to see Wicked again, but you get my point. And then the second half, the ending of the second half, like the last song of the second half, Eclipse, just feels like such a satisfying ending. But we'll get to that later, probably.
I love it. So
okay, we have to we're gonna talk about
a lot of
Damage Eclipse soon.
Right now it's an Eclipse. I feel like the meaning of the title of the song, "The Dark Side of the Moon." By the dark side of the moon, they mean death, obviously. And the Brain Damage and Eclipse is sort of just the final step to
it's like
that.
It's like, and despite transitioning perfectly into any color you like, Brain Damage is like the tone of the song is a lot different than the last 3 songs. It's a lot more like.
I love how it opens with the guitars. Ba da 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 da.
It's the most upbeat song on like the entire album musically, but the lyrics are like really, really dark. They're basically about like. I guess the lyrics are supposed to be about going insane.
Basically, the title makes sense. Brain Damage.
This album, I just realized that this album is a like almost like a biography of somebody's life. This is like you start off, you don't want to waste time. Then you get to money where you want money and you get money and all the problems that money kind of brings about are discussed in that song. And then you get to you're so filled with it that you get brain damaged, or maybe the damage in your brain is exposed, and now that you are what you are, and then you die, basically.
Yeah, and
it's a beautiful album.
The lyrics in Brain Damage are the lunatic is on. They keep on talking about the lunatic, but the lunatic, they're not talking about somebody who lunatic is
and then there's this crazy laugh at the end.
It feels like the song is sort of sung in first person, I guess, where. Because, you raise the blade, you make the change, you rearrange me till I'm sane. So it feels like he's talking to somebody. But if you first listen to the song,
also the singer from The Great Gig in the Sky is back on this one.
Yeah, but you think he's talking to somebody, but if you listen to it and read the lyrics more, you realize he's talking to himself. He's the lunatic on the grass. He's the lunatic in the hall. He's the lunatic in his head.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this song is that's probably the most, I don't know, what's the word? Would I use deprecating?
And this has the best chorus on the whole album.
Yeah.
It's very, like, what do you call it? It's, like, very, it gives you the loony feeling, sort of. It kind of, it does a really good job of making you think about what they're trying to convey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the chorus is just so powerful and fun to listen to. I'll see you on the dark side.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that they basically mentioned the album name, which is the whole theme kind of this. So
it's a perfect way to. That's like.
Let me just say, I have Brain Damage and Eclipse in this playlist. Whenever I shuffle the playlist, if Brain Damage is like close enough to the first song where I know I'm gonna listen to it, I always look for Eclipse and like move it up to it right after. Because I cannot listen to Brain Damage and then not listen to Eclipse.
Just like I can't listen to Breathe in the Air and not listen to I think it was On the Run and then Time. When I listen to Breathe in the Air, I automatically have to listen to On the Run and then Time.
And ending the album with the title of the album, it's like ending a movie with the title of the movie.
Yeah.
It can sometimes be cheesy, but in this case, it's really powerful.
Yeah. The build up on Eclipse is just fantastic. It's just, oh my god.
I mean, you said it, Cameron. If you can't listen to Brain Damage without listening to Eclipse.
Yeah.
Eclipse, Brain Damage and Eclipse, like many pairs or groups of songs in this album, is one song. You gotta listen to Eclipse because it's the big ending of the album. It's the climax. It's just like where everybody's gonna take a bow and sort of thing. It's that kind of thing.
The best way to describe Eclipse is it's just the climax of absolutely everything you've heard before.
Except,
oh yeah,
with the organs are so good. Like when he says, "I'll see you on the dark side of the moon." This basically is just last word. That's him dying.
You know,
and then Eclipse is basically just the process of dying. You know, it's like you die, and this is what happens.
Eclipse is literally just the lyrics are just life flashing before your eyes, basically.
Basically, yeah. That's exactly it. It's just such a fun song to listen to too.
And the
all
way
your memories,
and it
all
leads
your
out.
senses come into play.
Yeah, and then it leads out with the heartbeats that open the album, which is kind of cheesy, but also really good.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. No, I don't think that's cheesy at all, to be honest. I actually think that that's masterful, and that it's completely beautiful, because if you have this album on repeat, you hear the heartbeats, then you hear it fade out, and then you hear them again, and then the cycle repeats.
You know, it's like the cycle of life. If one person dies, another person is born.
Exactly.
And the lyrics on this song, all that you touch, all that you see, all that you taste, they're basically just listing everything that happens in life.
Yeah.
You know, that's exactly how you said, life flashing before your eyes, and they're doing it by singing all the elements of life.
This isn't any ordinary life that the Dark Side of the Moon documents. This is some weird lunatic life, some weird, like, I did not get off my feet, and now I have all this money, and now I'm greedy, and I'm gonna die. Like, that's a very peculiar premise to base an album around.
Yeah. It's,
you know, I think
Brain Damage and Eclipse are probably my favorite album closer of all time. Like,
I think, in Money at least, the main character of this album, per se, isn't the person who's getting rich. At least he's the person who's sort of being taken advantage by.
Yeah,
and the track 7, Us and Them, the title, you know, you could take it two ways. You could think, when, you know, with the theme is war, us could be, you know, our side who's fighting in the war, and them could be the other side.
Yeah,
I think the real that's the meaning of the front. But I think the real meaning, us is the ordinary people, and them is the people who are controlling everything.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's completely up to interpretation. Or maybe not.
It says we're just ordinary men. We is referring to the us, the ordinary men. You know.
Well, I guess so then.
And
you
know, as the last lyrics, but the sun is eclipsed by the moon. You know.
Yeah, and then there's that iconic line at the very end.
Yeah.
There is no dark side of the moon, really. Matter of fact, it's all dark.
That's because I think he's trying to say that, you know, all of life is there's bad things going on through his entire life compared to the dark side, which is just being dead. And, you know, the sun being eclipsed by the moon, everything under the sun is in tune, where everything in the world is good now that he's dying, and the sun is eclipsed by the moon, where he finally just dies.
Yeah,
that's how I interpret the last two lines of Eclipse.
I mean, I'd said it before, this entire album is airy, but it's not in any way hollow. It's beautiful, it's masterful, and it's thought-provoking. It's everything you want in an album, really.
Yeah, I absolutely. So I think we should go ahead and give our final verdicts and scores on the album. I'm gonna go first. This album is a 9.5 out of 10 for me. It's an insanely good album, although it's not the best Pink Floyd album.
Yeah.
We'll get into the best, in my opinion, what's the best Pink Floyd album next week.
Yeah, this is also a 9 out of 10 for me. Again, not the best Pink Floyd album. I think Metal and Animals are both better, but we can talk about those in other episodes.
I never give an album an 100. I'd probably give this album a 98.
Yeah. I think 100 has to be an album where every track is a 10 out of 10.
Which is so hard to accomplish that
I disagree.
It's very hard to accomplish.
For me,
so I don't think I'm ever gonna do 100.
For me, I don't know. I've given albums where I don't think every track is like great a 10 out of 10. I don't know. It's just my personal thing.
My favorite Pink Floyd album is a 10
mostly just how much of an impact like the album as a whole had on me.
I'm not gonna spoil what I think of our next album, but I love it.
I don't think it's better actually than The Dark Side of the Moon. That's just my opinion.
We can talk about that next week though, because that's
we can.
All right. Anyways, that was a short episode, but
yeah, we're just breaking into our shoes really with a new member.
Anyways, we're gonna sign off now, I guess. So
yeah, don't forget to tune in next week we're gonna be reviewing the 4th
Wish
ranked
You Were
album
Here.
on the RYM charts. Wish You Were Here. So yeah, see you next week.
So yeah,
See you next week.
see you next week. Bye.
If you like this episode, please like, subscribe, and give us a comment telling us what you thought of this episode. Constructive criticism, please. You can also find a link to our Twitter account and our Rate Your Music list in the description. Also, a link to the background music that we use in this video from the lovely artists over at Nightlight Tapes. And yeah, see you next episode.